All right, so that's the thing. 5 shocking details from Diddy's past. I didn't know this. These videos all came out recently, so it's going to give us an update of what's going on here.
Before Sean Combs was a business mogul and rap artist and producer, he was just a kid from Harlem.
It's really surreal. It's really overwhelming to come from New York.
I'm taking a look at some of the shocking details Combs has revealed about his childhood and what it could mean about.
Shout out to Gil Wash, 27, cheered 100 bits. Shout out to all you guys joining and showing love here on Twitch.
Where he is today. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Sean Combs, of course, has been all over the news for the last month following his arrest on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. He, of course, has pleaded not guilty to those charges, which came after raids on his homes in Miami and LA in late March. Combs' world started to crumble nearly a year ago when his ex, Cassie Ventura, filed a civil lawsuit claiming Combs subjected her to a decade of physical, mental, and emotional abuse. Combs settled that suit the very next day. Since that time, more civil suits have followed with.
He literally settled in one day. Like, he said he was going to fight it, and then he just said, fuck it.
Claims being made that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he settled for like 33 million, guys. Somewhere in that range.
Combs sexually assaulted or sex trafficked at least a dozen women. Combs has denied all of those allegations. Stories about those lawsuits have been the subject of hundreds and hundreds of news stories. And it's not the kind of attention that Sean Diddy Combs is used to or wants. He had cultivated an image of a self-made billionaire and business mogul for years. Combs had used a number of names over the years: Puff Daddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, Diddy, and now Love. But what do we really know about him as a person?
Dude's been around for 30 plus years, man, since the early fucking 90s.
And how he became who he is today. What shaped him as a person? I want to go back to the very beginning. Sean John Combs was born on November 4th, 1969 in Harlem. His mom was Janice.
His birthday's coming up.
And his dad was Melvin. We're going to have more on Melvin and Janice in just a bit, so stay tuned. We know Janice eventually moved Combs and his sister to Mount Vernon, New York after Melvin died. Janice actually worked 3 jobs to put them through private school. In a 2006 documentary, Sean Combs, Portrait in Black and White, Combs revealed a lot about his upbringing. He explained the difference in how his grandmother raised him compared to his mother, telling a story about someone stealing money from him after his grandmother sent him to the store to buy cigarettes. His mom told him to go get the money back and not to come home unless he got that money. He left crying, found the guy, and got beat up, but he said he got that money back. In the documentary, Combs said, "My mother, I guess, was raising me for the real world. She always told me, if someone hits me, to hit them back harder." Combs' father, Melvin Combs, was shot and killed on Central Park West in 1972, but for years, Combs actually believed his father died in a car crash because that's what his mom told him. Combs talked about his father in the documentary, saying in his own words that he later found out his father's brains were blown out, and he learned he was the son of a hustler and a gangster, which he had always suspected. There has been talk.
Well, that makes sense why she didn't want to tell him anything. Shout out to Head Honcho, who's resubscribed for 1 month.
Over the years that
And just so you guys know, a lot of you guys, if you look, you might not be subscribed on Twitch because, we got banned for 2 weeks. So we're back now. So you might have lost the subscription because you subscribed back in like maybe September 20th or something like that. So we'll do a poll and see how many of you guys are still getting ads.
Melvin Combs worked for Harlem gangster Frank Lucas, whose story was depicted in the film American Gangster. Combs apparently found out his father was friends with Frank Lucas, that drug dealer in the area, but has said in other interviews that his father was actually a drug kingpin in his own right, which is something he didn't want to glorify. Lucas has said he and Melvin Combs did business together. Combs said his only memory of his father was him tossing him into the air. He was a very stylish dresser. The ladies loved him. His whole everything is real meticulous. He had a lot of drive, a lot of determination. You know, he ain't want to be poor. I spoke with Sean Sotero, a music journalist, earlier this year about Sean Combs and his father.
The Melvin Combs story is very interesting. I found something actually just the other day. It's a daily news story from February 1973, which is a few years, maybe a year and a half or so after he was killed. But it was around the time that this drug case in which he had been involved, in which, finally convictions happened in it. But this article says, well, look, this case, which was, breaking up a giant heroin ring, started when Melvin Combs's phone was wiretapped, and that was sort of the break in this case. And the article doesn't out and out say this, but it seems to imply that Melvin Combs' death was somehow connected to that, right? And you hear rumors, people associated with Harlem in that time have said, well, look, people mistakenly thought Melvin Combs was an informant and that's why he was killed, right? It's sort of something that people who knew him back then or who knew the area back then have said. And so, it seems to me this article sort of trying to put two and two together and say maybe the reason they thought that was because there was, in fact, this wiretap on his phone. So that part was true, but obviously why.
Shout out to Carterman92. Big pause, but W. Angie for being Myron's piece in the sea of BS he deals with every day. Shout out to both of you. But Myron, any updates on you guys getting remonetized? I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Wiretaps are not something one does voluntarily, right? So.
Shout out to you, Carterman92, sorry.
If this Daily News article is to be believed, I think that maybe sort of explains the story behind his death, possibly. But yeah, I think, Diddy definitely had the image of his.
Someone in the Council Club said, what was the name of Diddy's mentor? That's one of them boys. That's from Sandy Balls. Clive Davis.
His father was very important to him. There was a speech he gave at Howard, maybe 2005 or so, something like that, where he recalls very vividly, I was in college at Howard and the first thing I did was go to the library and look at the microfiche and look up the Amsterdam News and see this story about my father. Like, it is something that is very important to him, this image of his father as sort of the drug dealer, but not just the drug dealer, sort of the suave, powerful guy who hung out with, the biggest of the big gangsters, right? Frank Lucas, like you mentioned, who, of course, his story is now immortalized in movies, right? He's about as famous as you can.
Good movie, by the way, American Gangster. Denzel did a fantastic job.
Get in that sort of milieu. So I think that Diddy seemed to.
I should probably do Fed Reacts on American Gangster. I probably should actually, now that I think about it.
We should do that.
Hold on to that.
Yeah, the blue magic and everything else. Yeah, we could do that.
Image of his father, and it seemed very important to him that his father was someone big and notable and important.
The stories I cover each day here on Crime Fix show you just how scary the world can be. And one of the scariest things that can happen is if you ever get hurt. But I want you to know if there are no, when it comes to his go down, to think I make a good friend /Crime Fix. Combs also discussed being a somewhat lonely person and his belief that he's not a good friend. I don't really think I make a good friend. I don't think I'm someone who someone's going to call when they're going through something. I don't think I'm going to have the patience to really slow down to give them the attention they need.
How revealing is that, guys? Because if you notice, no one's really coming to his aid. I haven't seen any big celebrities, outside of his family, of course, but I haven't seen any big celebrities come to his aid and be like, oh, these charges are bullshit, blah, blah, blah. It's like they all knew, right? It's just like the Young Philly situation. None of his friends are stepping up and speaking on his behalf either. So that's very telling and revealing to me when people don't come out on your behalf and say this is bullshit.
There are other things that Combs revealed about his childhood that really make me wonder what's going on with him when it comes to his views on women and sex. Combs spoke in the documentary about how he...
Yeah, he's definitely a sexual deviant. Like, wanting to watch your girl get plowed is strange.
He lost his virginity when he was just 12 years old.
Combs also talked about watching pornography at a young age. The first time I had sex, I wasn't scared. It felt so good to me, but I just remember how impressed I was because I used to watch Midnight Blue and how I felt I was just as good as the porno stars, like in Midnight Blue. I want to bring in Dr. Daniel Bober. He...
Huh?
The Midnight Blue thing?
I don't know. I guess it's some kind of corn film.
is a forensic psychiatrist.
All right, so I just did a poll to see how many of you guys are still getting ads. It seems almost 50% of you guys are still getting ads. So let's get some subs gifted out here, man, so people can go ahead and be able to watch the show without ads. Guys, go ahead and subscribe with Prime. If you subscribe with Prime, you will not see ads.
who
And it's completely free. Most of you guys have Amazon Prime.
deals primarily with young people. So, Dr. Bober, your first thoughts on this documentary? You know, we have Sean Combs years ago talking about being really, quite sexually active at what I think is a young age.
Yes, I agree.
Shout out to Nathan says, TV on Twitch, phone on Cast Club, and PC on Rumble and YouTube. Thank you so much. WMR and WANG, WCC, WFed Reacts, and WCC Premium. Weight loss journey starting again tomorrow for almost 2 years. Motivation came from the FNF team and any props. Bro, I'm going to give you a Don DeMarco. Get back on that wagon and lose that weight, bro, baby. Shout out to you, Nathan Rods. So, guys, quick word from our sponsor real fast. You know we don't mess around when it comes to leveling up, and that goes for your coffee, too. If you're still drinking that sugary shit, you're already started your morning off wrong. 1775 Coffee's protein creamer is what real men use to start their day. 10 grams of whey protein per serving, designed to build muscle and boost metabolism. Most people are tossing whey protein into their coffee, but we took it a step further and made a creamer with whey protein already built in, no added sugar, just protein. They just dropped this protein creamer along with a whole new lineup. In addition to the classic dark and medium roast, you'll find new coffee pods and a brain-boosting mushroom blend that'll have you focused like a sniper locked in on CNN. Don't start your morning funding the woke mob and dumping garbage into your body. Do it right with 1775 Coffee. Use code FRESH to get 15% off. Guys, I'm drinking 1775 Coffee right now, man. As we walk it like we talk it over here, guys, and they got one that has a protein blend, man, so definitely go show them support. Shout out to 1775 Coffee.
Agree. And I think, it's important to state the fact that those who are abused or exploited or have inappropriate sexual encounters at a young age are not necessarily going to go on to become abusers. In fact, the majority don't. So, Sean Combs would not be the first person to have a traumatic childhood, but that certainly would not absolve him of responsibility for his acts.
He speaks so vividly. I've kind of talked to a number of people about this, just bouncing it off of people. Like, what do you think of this? Like, he's talking about losing his virginity at age 12, being exposed to pornography, watching pornography at a very young age. And there have been some people who have said to me, like, oh, come on, like, it's no big deal. A lot of kids do that at that age. I think of 12 as being very, very young. Yeah. And I think of that as being a very formative time period and something like where that could shape the way you look at sex, and viewing pornography at such a young age seems to me, and I know he's pleaded not guilty to these charges, but the allegations are that he has these days-long sex parties, and it could go into a lot of different things looking at this. Is it possible he's just got these?
Tickle Bitty gave out 5 community subs. Shout out to you, Tickle Bitty. Tickle Bitty 1 gave out 5 subs. We'll get this thing cracking. So a bunch of you guys, if we can get it down to like 10%, my goal is to get it to 10% where you guys aren't seeing ads.
Kind of wild views about sex and things of that nature.
So I think what's going on here is, first of all, it is a big deal. It's not no big deal. So being exposed to sexual experiences at such a young age.
Also, most sexual deviants, especially people that like mess with stuff like that, they tend to be as well.
Well, I was watching
like
a podcast.
People that are, PDF. You guys know what I'm saying? PDF. Most of the time they tend
PDF
to be
files. Okay.
Yeah, see that?
You're gonna say
because we're on Twitch. So I'm trying to be safe.
Okay.
But yeah, they tend to be homosexual more likely than not. Not all the time, but a good amount of the time.
Well, people did say that he was abused by Clive Davis when he was younger.
Yeah, someone did mention that actually.
But I was watching a podcast and they were talking about this, and they said that people with this level of power and
hold on, your camera just went out.
And reach.
Yeah, let me fix it for you.
You can.
No, keep going. They can hear you. They just can't see you.
That have been exposed to the sexual market since they've been kids, they usually tend to get bored of the same thing. So, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he just got bored with women and he just started like spicing this up with doing these things with the male models and stuff. And then he just switched to just being with men because he just got bored, probably. Like, he just got desensitized to regular sex, probably. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about this, because this might be like a very strong theory about what's wrong with Diddy and his, abuse. So what happened?
No, you're good. You're back on camera. I fixed
Okay.
it. Camera turned off.
Hey, stop.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of these guys do get bored and just become, deviants.
Age is definitely a form of trauma and abuse, in my opinion.
Power.
People who are exposed to those types of scenarios when they're that age can go on to develop a number of symptoms. They may have problems with intimacy. They may objectify women. They may have a fear of vulnerability. They may be hypersexual, or on the other side, may be sexually avoidant. So it is not no big deal. It is something that can make it is something that can have a prominent effect on someone in their terms of their relationships and their sexual development. But again, it doesn't necessarily speak to the things that he's accused of. It may be an explanation for why he engages in some of the behavior. But I think if you take those childhood experiences and you combine them with celebrity, and then you have a person who has very deviant ideas about sex combined with being a celebrity, acting with impunity, knowing that there are no consequences, or at least believing that there are no consequences for their actions, doing so without fear that something's going to happen to them because of their tremendous wealth and their celebrity. And so I think that is a malignant combination.
There's also the viewing of pornography here too. This is another thing where I've bounced this off of some people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no big deal." But children viewing pornography, even adults being pornography, I'm not trying to sound puritanical, but there are a lot of people, and you're an expert in, you're in forensic psychiatry. Is that a bad thing, the viewing of pornography? I mean, especially for a young person who's a kid.
I do think it can be bad. I think it's totally inappropriate. But unfortunately, with widespread access to the internet, to social media, kids.
Yeah, I think it's going to be even worse in 20 years, guys, because porn is so ubiquitous now in society that we're going to have even more of this stuff. When Diddy was a kid at 12 years old, you had to actually work to find it and get it. Now, it's just so out there all over the marketplace.
At younger ages are being exposed to this type of pornography. And I have seen situations where patients of mine, for example, have acted out sexually at an inappropriate age, at least associated.
Shout out to Nate Dab, gave out 5 community subs. Air Sign subscribed with Prime. Gil Washir cheered 100 bits.
With the fact that they were viewing pornography. So I think it could be potentially destructive. But it really depends on the kid, their temperament, their parents, their support system. So I think there's tremendous variability.
There's another piece of this puzzle too, and that's drug use. And drug use.
Yeah, this is something that I didn't realize that it was so bad. I would blame his drug use and his alcohol abuse as a big part of the reason why he's in so much trouble.
Is alleged to have been rampant here. There's talk of GHB, ketamine, cocaine. There's allegations in civil suits being made that Sean Combs's staff kept him basically drugged up all the time. Like, it's almost as if they were instructed to do so. How does drug use kind of influence these behaviors? I mean, I think of drug use as kind of loosening one's inhibitions and things of.
Absolutely. And, allows you to do the stupid shit that he was doing. Shout out to Simp from Castle Club says, this female trying to make excuse for Diddy. If you're more exposed to deviancy, the wilder and wilder you get. Max is a prime example. She was watching Korn daily, and what she wanted was crazier and crazier to a point where I got concerned.
That nature.
So certainly drug use can make you disinhibited, affect judgment, affect your insight, affect your ability to control your impulses. But as we know in criminal law, drug use in and of itself, voluntary intoxication, is not a defense for a crime. What I see his defense team doing right now is painting this sort of family man defense, because one of the accusers is a single adult woman living at home and he is married with children. As a society, we place a positive moral value on either being married or having children or both. And the fact that this is a single woman, I think they're...
Well, we don't put enough of an emphasis on it because, You know, the nuclear family is the backbone of any thriving society, but we don't push that out as much as we should.
Using that to sort of prejudice people, if you will, or causing them to view her in a negative light because he is this sort of pure family man and she is this single adult woman. And again, I think there's sort of
shout out to Arc Lightning, gifted a tier 1 sub to Yashimore 357. That brokey. Thank you so much, Arc Lightning. You're the fucking man, bro.
a subtext there that in some way he's morally superior because of that.
They've also said, too, that his defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo,
and he also gave one to Tengos as well. All you brokies say, type in, I'm a brokey in all caps, and someone will take care of you.
has said this was consensual. You might not like it, but, you know, these were consenting adults. That's kind of what he said publicly, too. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that at trial. He's also said he will testify.